Hi, welcome to Tales from the Tap. My name is Frankie, and this is my co-host.
Stan the man.
We're excited to talk to you about some of the newest updates in Magic after Foundations. But before we do, Stan, I heard that pre-release was hot.
It was all right. Pre-release, actually, Foundations was my lowest attendance pre-release in a while. It was still pretty packed, like something like 30-something players. But this was the first time I didn't have to like open these tables up, have like an extra spot in the back, all those growing pains, etc. And I think, ironically enough, though, part of it that was easier to navigate was that for whatever reason, this set, a lot of the Commander players that normally are like diehard only Commander, they show up for pre-release to buy stuff but don't want to play in it. They like 90% of them were like, "Oh yeah, we actually want to play this one." I was like, "All right, I don't know if it's because
Okay.
Limited has been so good lately or whatever, but they all just wanted to play in it, and they actually want to play in the flashback one this weekend." So I'm like, all right, and like so that like gained me all these tables back that are normally locked down for Commander.
Which I think is so ironic because, like, I mean, like, spoiler, not spoiler, but I don't think that this set is it.
Yeah. As far as Limited goes, I think that's the good thing though. I'll get into it a little bit more, and I'll probably keep reiterating it as we talk, but. They really kind of nailed the core set thing down and to a T. Like, relatively boring limited environment for people that are like into limited, like our like we are.
Yep.
Compared to like Duskborn or any of like the last 6 standard sets have been so good for limited. And they're like very synergistic. Where like Foundations is just draft good cards.
Yep. Draft good cards, play good cards.
We've
Smash.
been having the most success, and I've been seeing a lot of our friends in Discord have the most success with like Black X mid range, where it's like, oh, Black has like 12 removal spells. Get some good removal spells. Get some good draw, discard, win. Oh, you got a bomb? Play for the bomb.
Yeah.
And there's not like any rares that are like super insane that you have to build around. I did have a lot of fun with that Homunculi guy as like a rare to build around.
Yeah.
But draw discard is so prevalent in the blue black archetype anyway for reanimating that like you just kind of naturally are drawing extra cards. You don't even have to build around it.
Yeah, the only rare that I was like, wow, I really enjoyed this was that 3-drop Spider. It's like a 4/3 for 3, and whenever like this creature or another one of your
creature dies.
Yeah, you like reveal cards from the top of your deck until you hit a creature and like put it into your hand.
I actually played against a guy that had that card, and I just grinded him so hard that he milled out.
Wow.
Like just milled him out. It was awesome. I was like, that spider is killing you. Kill all the rest of your guys. But I had like every removal spell. It was crazy. Yeah, format has been so fun. Actually, one of my favorite draft decks was purely a blue-black reanimator list. But I literally hit an Elenda in pack 2, and I was like, oh, this seems so worth it. I already had Involving Wilds because I was splashing for some green bombs. Those were the only bombs that I had hit for Zombify. So like I had some green cards anyway. Elenda was like my best Zombify target. She is such a house. Like the fact that she's like just hitting for that massive lifelink swing in this format is so big. As a 4/4, she's pretty huge. And then if she gets to grow, which is so easy to do if you have black removal, she is disgusting. Also, I don't know if it's like an arena thing, but so many people that I was playing against missed the fact that like if you block her, she grows in combat because the lifelink just happens.
Yes,
like,
I've died.
Like,
I've got
4 block.
I've got spooked by that twice.
Yeah,
I was like,
every person I played against in that draft fell for the Elenda. Where like it never happened to me because I knew it was happening. So like I would block 6 damage on some people's Elendas, and they're like hovering it like why 6? Why 6? I'm like, trust me, brother. I know what I'm doing here. She's a 5/5.
that card feels like almost unbeatable.
She can be unbeatable, yeah, because like the fact that she's a 5/5 at 21 is what's crazy to me. So like I was almost in the Zombify deck, I was like, yeah, I would definitely rather revive her. And I think it's called Macabre Waltz. That card.
Oh, the Maccabee Waltz.
Yeah, that card is like insane. Like pick 2 guys back, discard a card. It's like that card. I had 3 of them in that deck. I was like, I will gladly buy back Elenda every time she dies and discard whatever card, or buy back 2 vampires that I was using for value, discard my 6/6 whatever, and then I'll zombify that after the fact. Yeah, for like all intents and purposes, it has like some fun, quirky stuff going on. But at the end of the day, it's still a very core set limited. Nothing's crazy. I know you were saying that you Lords Limited. I think we're saying like draft after the commons. Like,
Yeah.
the really good commons really matter in this set because the rares are not as bomb heavy with their synergies.
Yeah, like there are just a lot of rares that both of them went pick like their challenge when they were like writing their episode was I'm gonna pick the top 10. Both of us will write down our top 10 best rares in the set, and they could not get a 10 for both of them
Yeah.
because they were like so many of these are bad.
Yeah.
And I've already found myself between commons and uncommons just being like, oh, I'm very often picking commons like pack one, pick one.
Yeah.
Because like so many of the rares are just so mopey and not for limited that it's like this card's just terrible here. Like I think it was like Omniscience was like
Oh, yeah.
Omniscience was a card and I was like, yep, nope,
Nah,
I'll do something else.
I drafted one deck that had it, but like I'll get like pack one. My rare is the 6-drop that copies the thing every turn. And don't get me wrong, I had a deck that had it in it, and it would win me games. But like, there's no way you pack one, pick one that card. You know, like I played it in a deck where it was my 3rd rare in pack 3, and I was like, oh well, I'm already in these colors. If I keep copying the 6/6 that gains me 4 life, I'm not unhappy with that. Yeah, it's just actually, ironically enough, there is another 6-drop blue spell that I actually really like. It's like Clone, Flashback Clone, and I would play that in the random deck.
Yeah.
My favorite uncommon right now is to draft is that blue-black draw discard guy. But like you said, just commons and uncommons. I will like look at the whole pack and be like, okay, what archetype has the most cards in the pack? Because the packs are just honestly not built equally in play boosters. Like they were a little bit more color catered in the
Built
past.
different.
You can get a pack that's like no red. So if I see that, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go for blue or black or green black or whatever because there's no red in the pack. It's not gonna wheel me a red card. Why would I start going after red cards? You know,
This is
if I
making
start seeing the packs not have certain colors.
This is making me think that like maybe one day for fun during an episode, I should just like pull up Arena and see like how good of a deck I could draft while we're doing the
That'd be fun
episode.
if we had like a computer here and we're
Yeah,
just
it'd
like
be like-
as we're talking, and then whoever's talking switches over to the mouse.
That'd be
That'd be fun. Maybe we could do that one time and then
Yeah.
do like a screen in the background.
Yeah,
for you
yeah,
guys.
yeah. But yeah, I had the only other deck that I had that was like sweet was I did like a red blue spells matter thing
Yeah.
because like everyone is passing Tolarian Terrors and
Oh,
like
yeah,
when
yeah.
Tolarian Terror lands, you're like, oh my god,
Dude, there was so many
I'm-
Tolarian Terrors running around.
I'm gonna die.
And even like a 3 or 4 drop Tolarian Terror is pretty strong. 5/5 is like right about the rate of like creatures that are menacing enough.
With ward,
With ward,
ward
yeah.
2.
I feel like the ward in this set specifically isn't that good, but it is still ward at the end of the day. It's just that the games are so grindy. You're gonna get to like 8 mana, honestly, and oh man, I actually got one with loot as a rare. Loot is pretty good. You're like tap 6. I had 4 of the 6-drop vampire or demon or whatever it's called, where you're supposed to sack a guy to play it, and it's like you draw and gain, and they discard and lose life. I had 4 copies of that in a green-black deck with like 2 Llanowar elves, there's like a 3-mana rampant growth that has kicker. I forgot the name of the card. Like just like a pure ramp deck with 4 of that demon, and I had loot, which is like play extra cards. I can't tell you how many games I won where I was like tap loot for 6. I've already gone through half my deck. Oh, there's one of those guys. Play him for free, no sack. And then you just do that like 2 turns in a row, and they're just like, what's going on? A lot of fun stuff going on. As far as like the rares are concerned, like I guess loot was fun for me. The Homunculus that doubles itself was insane. Kaito actually, I was really down on Kaito. I take it back. Humbly, I was unfamiliar with your game, Kaito. Holy crap! I had a match where just like Kaito on turn 3, he couldn't die. Like you're like either plussing loyalty from like giving guys unblockable, and then to draw a discard is obviously nice, but the fact that every guy that hits gives him a loyalty, I would have like turns where like 3 guys hit, and I'm just like, oh well, I guess I'll just make a ninja, and like none of their attacks are profitable at that point. Like attack into this ninja or whatever blockers you have. How do you kill the Kaito? It was so gross. Obviously not as good as Blue Black Kaito, but I will say that Mono Blue Kaito did some work for me. I appreciate you. You're not the worst. Liliana's still probably better.
We still want Jace back.
Maybe. I think Kellen is the new Jace, right? One of my Pokemon players, actually, his name is Kellen, and he's like, people keep giving me these Kellen cards. Like, what is it with this guy? I'm like, actually, that's not going to stop, buddy. He's the new main character, so enjoy that happening for like 3 more years.
That's awesome.
With that being said, that's pretty much all the small talk. We should jump into some housekeeping, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you like our show and you want to support us, keep the lights on, the best way to do that is our Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from the Tap. And
if you're curious about what you want to see on there, you can always join as a free member, which is pretty cool because you get to see all the updates.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to end up, if Frank hasn't done it already, which I think he has, it's like got updated to the new tiers and all this stuff for like whether or not you are at the tier for coaching, us playing your decks, us helping you with sideboard guides. And honestly, if you're into Discord, we'll probably help you with your sideboard guide anyway. But we do appreciate the people that do support the Patreon because it does take a lot of time out of our day to like go out of our way to help you with your deck lists. Not that we're unhappy to do it. But,
but we both we work jobs
Yeah.
in addition to doing this.
Yeah.
So
With that
and
being said, join our Discord. It is free, and we'd love to have people there for discussion.
yeah, and shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for the support of our show. It means the world to us, and we can't thank you enough.
Patrons are the best. You
Be
guys are awesome.
looking out in the new year. I think we're planning to just do some revamping overall of like Patreon and perks and starting to. I know we've been talking about doing some new merch as well. So
Yeah. we have a lot of merch ideas. We haven't updated the store, and not to mention now that Frank actually has like his house kind of set up more or less, it's not falling apart, and his computer's set up. He's actually been streaming more, which has been fun. Frank and I last night had a stream where we were on it together and chatting over the gameplay, which was really fun. And I think you ended up 3-2, but you were so
3-2.
close.
So sad. I should have won that last game, but just like drew like garbage. And spoiler, Scavenging Ooze as a sideboard card was just like I couldn't kill it, and it was like unbeatable. It was like an 8/8. It was gaining him life. I was like, I can't even like use my Abyssal Harvester to like get something back. It was like, man, Scooz is cracked, and we
Yeah.
thought it would be too.
Thank God it's Go for the Throw and not Heartless Act. Screw
Yeah.
so crazy.
Oh, it was so crazy.
With that being said, though, YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, which most of you probably are, it seems to be our metrics say YouTube is the way to go. But shout outs to everybody that's on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. We do appreciate you guys as well, and we do check for all those comments. But if you're on YouTube, if you don't mind checking, if you like the video already, subscribe if you haven't. Really appreciate that. It goes a long way for us. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. We're like about a third of the way there. And then if you leave us a comment, it always helps. Comment whatever you want. You know, let me know what you had for dinner. I know Jack always does that whenever I ask, so I appreciate that.
Man,
But,
he's our boy.
any comment you guys leave, we really appreciate. And actually, speaking of Jack, he kind of wants to do like our own series where we get like 8 people and like play through like meta decks and like talk about our gameplay. So we might do that in the future with Goblin Ringleader, or maybe
Spicy.
some collabs with MTG Chicago, get some Patreons on, etc. People that love playtesting. And then, we'll have more updates for you guys as we go into the new year and new content, etc. But with that being said, let's jump into some standard talk. So as far as standard goes, we're recording this video kind of late for our purposes. It's actually Thursday night. We usually record Sunday or Monday at the latest. We wanted to wait partially because, one, the cards weren't available on Moto, and so people really weren't really like cooking. There was no like new technology we were seeing that was
Not
like,
at all.
prevalent. And usually it's already like pre-baked, if you will. Like people meal prep it. Like when Duskhorn came out, people were like meal prepping, like, oh man, this Overlord and this, and then this card and that, and then FOMO and whatever. So day one, cards are coming out. 5-0s are coming out instantly because people already kind of know what they want to try. With Foundations, which, like we said before, it's core set, and they went very core setty with it. There wasn't a lot to be excited about theoretically, and people weren't really like, oh, I can't wait to, do X. Not that cards aren't getting played from the set. It's just like, it's not nearly on the level of getting up Caretakers and, Paw Patch Formation and whatever we got from Bloomborough. And then, on top of that, all the Overlords from Duskmourn or like Outlaws of Thunder Junction having like insane discard spells. So like, it feels like Foundations just gave us like a little splash of everything, which is cool because if you look at all the standard sets for like the last 2 years, a lot of them did get stuff from foundations. Like the new Tiny Bones isn't very good. If you want to try mono black, you can always do. I've been talking about brewing a discard deck for that, etc. But in the first couple weeks, typically the format is always aggro, and that's just kind of like always how it goes. I remember like Bloomborough came out, and it was like all mid range, so like aggro was struggling. And then as soon as Dustborn came out, it was like right back to like where we left off, aggro back again. And honestly, aggro did gain some stuff with foundations, so we're pretty much in like a, not only did aggro gain technology, but they are also usually the front runners in a young format.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to say to that is just it was a little backwards. Bloomborough is what brought us aggro again, because that's when Heartfire Hero and Emberheart Challenger, and so like that's when we got Brew Prowess is with Bloomborough, and then Dustborn brought us back to mid range.
I was going to quote when you were like, "Is mid range dead?" Because Bloomborough had such good aggro cards.
Yeah.
And then immediately went back to being like all mid range.
Yeah. Because like just the red cards out of like, I mean, just the mice. The mice are the mice are.
I mean, one of the Pro Tour decks was literally Boros Mice.
Yeah, and it's so strong.
Which, spoiler, it was also one of the top 8 lists from the challenge we just had, which we'll get into.
Yeah, so with Constructed and with like what you're talking about with aggro, one of the things that's like becoming really prevalent very quickly, and it's actually making me pretty excited, even though like I'm not an aggro player, is that Boros aggro is back, baby.
Yeah,
like it's really, yeah, it's really good. And what I've been seeing off of 5.0s and the challenges is that Boros aggro is actually probably the most diverse it's ever been.
Yeah.
Like you can go the route of like Sheltered by Ghosts and, you know, Monstrous Rages and playing more like pump effects.
And I will say personally, I think the Enchantments version sucks compared to the Boros Charm version. Well, I guess you play Boros Charm in both.
You do in both.
But I think I talked about it last episode, but I think Boros Enchantments definitely lost steam, even though there was an enchantment that came out in Foundations that I thought was pretty good for them. Forgot what it was.
Shard Mage's Rescue?
Shard Mage's Rescue was already legal, I thought.
That came out in Dustborn.
FOMO is an enchantment, though, so that's like something to be said, and like Ethereal Armor is pretty strong, but Lightning Helix, Boros Charm, Burst Lightning, just straight up like red deck wins, burn. That new list, it's just like, honestly, like chef's kiss, just so good.
Well, I even saw Bolt Wave being played, and I was like, we're playing Lava Spike in Standard again.
You need it. It's so good.
I just thought that was so cool. And what I also find to be really interesting about like this gameplay is with creatures like, you know, Manifold Mouse. Right. in these decks. And Manifold Mouse has like, I know that we talked about it previously with like Gruul, where like Manifold Mouse was the new Leyline of Resonance. Like it just was a better card in more consistent games. Well, on top of that, I've actually been seeing, just from my own play online, people not just using the Boros Charm for what you do in Modern, which is like, it's just 4 damage. I've seen a lot of it be like double strike, because you've got, you know, slick shots that are massive, and the double strike just does more damage. And
double strike with slick shot, and also the Valiant trigger you get from the double strike I was talking with people about. And not to mention in Standard with Boros Charm, and I was a big fan of it back then, I was putting the Fear of God and the Supreme Verdict players, but the fact that you can make all your stuff indestructible with Boros Charm has also like been relevant. Every mode on Boros Charm is really prime right now. Anything you get out of it is so effective, and the fact that it's a fifth of their life total is a big deal, because Screaming Nemesis is just a hell of a card, and in combination with the fact that you have Bolt Wave and Boros Charm, if you can get Screaming Nemesis to pop off at all, the lower their life total is, you just count how many burn spells you have, and you're like, oh yeah, they are for sure going to die. So as a defender, you really have to think about when you're going to block this Screaming Nemesis if you don't have removal for it.
And what's also relevant is that Boros Charm says target creature gains double strike, so it also triggers the Valiant on. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah, triggering Valiant's so good. But even like giving double strike to like the Prowess Emberheart Challenger, very strong. Giving double strike to Heartfire Hero, always good, especially if it's big. if they're forced to block it now, it almost surely will die. And if it dies, then it's like triple damage, right? Obviously, Slick Shot just does whatever it does, and then Swift Spear is still a prowess creature. So there's just so much value to be had from Boros Charm in general. In combination with now we have Burst Lightning, which is just way better than Shock. Like we talked about earlier, the ability to deny you life gain with Screaming Nemesis, the 5 mana kicked version of Burst Lightning ends up mattering a lot more with Boros Charm and all the burn that they have now. Excuse me. I saw here that you had a lot of our notes are kind of like wishy-washy because we had been writing notes from like earlier in the week before people cooked, and then seeing some of the decks that finally started showing up today is really nice. But Frank had listed Abyssal Harvester as like a cool card to see in potentially the Demons decks. I don't think we've seen it yet, but
It's only been me.
it's only been used so far. But I do think Abyssal Harvester is a really cool card. I'd like to see more people experiment with it. Just the fact that you're like getting these value creatures out of the graveyard seems really cool. But Unholy Annex, like you mentioned earlier, they were already kind of tight on the demons, and so like when we were playing that league last night, we kind of like had some turns where like, man, I really don't want to activate this because I'm too low to draw the card. It's not like Phyrexian Arena where it's like only 1 life. You're like paying yourself for 2 every end step. And if you have 2 Unholy Annexes, well, now we're talking about Boros Charm again. So like in this aggro format, you have to really be careful with how you use your Unholy Annex. I think that's partially why only one of the Dimir decks got to top 8 this standard challenge. But speaking of the standard challenge, unless you want to cover more of these notes really quick.
Yeah, the only things that I like wanted to mention was that from like what I saw off of stuff that came up this week is that Flood Pits of the Drowned is a card and is here to stay in
That's
like
one that shuffles the guys back in.
Yeah, like
After you tap
stuns.
them.
It has vigilance 2/1, and
That card's
we'll
sweet.
shovel stuff back in. Knight Errant, like Convoke was adding Arabella's in as like when it attacks, does the
I played
drain.
against a lot of Convoke this week on Arena, and I've been playing Dimir for what it's worth, having a great time with it. They're playing Arabella, and it gets nasty. I had like a turn where Arabella was like attack, drain 5, and that was like after I was killing his guys. I was like, turn 8 Arabella, right? Like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And then I see here they're also playing Shelter by Ghosts, which is kind of nasty. Shelter by Ghosts is the one where they exile your guy, right?
Yeah, and then it gives your creature a ward too.
I've had quite a few Convoke players take my Shield Druid, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm kind of
I'm cooked.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
The
the fact that they're playing Urtai actually really helps a lot. You're like, Urtai, get my guy back, please.
Right, because destroy target permanent, and that's so good to be able to target
Yeah,
the Shelter
killing the
by
creatures,
Ghosts.
even if you have to pay the ward, it's totally fine. Urtai is such a good card right now. And Urtai and Fairy Mastermind, really, really happy to play them together.
And with Shieldred, too.
now.
You're happy to
and
have that, too.
Shieldred.
Yeah.
The Dimir deck is honestly, it's just going to be one of the best decks for a while. Get used to seeing it when you're prepping for your RCQs. There will be Dimir players. I feel like a lot of the better players will be on Dimir because there's so much room for outplay with that deck. It is very good.
The last thing that I saw that's like new and hot was that the new Kiora, which I already thought was a really hot card, is being played in
The Merfolk one is like draw discard.
draw 2 cards, discard 2
She's
cards.
gross.
And
8/8s after you have like threshold or something.
well, it's being played in the Oculus deck.
Yeah, of
like
course.
the
Why
Azorius
wouldn't it?
Tempo, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, that card fits in that deck so
That's awesome
well.
because I kind of feel like they needed more threats. too.
Yes, and they needed more ways to like. It's already good with not Fairy Mastermind, Picklock Prankster. It's already good with Picklock
Yes,
Prankster,
yeah.
but now you have that effect again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's so good, so good. Yeah, that was it. The only thing I don't fully understand, maybe you do, is I've seen this as a one-of in multiple of the Teamer Flood Color combo decks. The dissection tool.
I have. You're talking about the Otter Teamer combo?
Yeah.
You have to read me what Dissection Tool does because
Yeah, so it's-
I remember reading the card and not liking it, but somebody drafted. Is that the one where you have to sacrifice a creature to equip?
Yes.
Okay, so that card, I remember talking about it with Gabe specifically this week. Somebody played it against me in draft, and we made fun of the guy because he had no way to activate it, and I was like crushing him. But I also had like the sickest Boros deck, so like, what was he ever gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna read it out. It's 5 mana.
Yeah, 5 mana. When Dissection Tool enters, manifest Dread,
Yeah.
then attach Dissection Tools to that creature. Equip creature has +2/+2.
Lifelink
And
and Death Touch.
yes, equip is sack a creature. So like
It's ETB Manifest Dread.
yes, So you make a body,
it's-
and you can also untap all your dudes.
They make so many guys. That's probably the value. Like of all the decks to play it, this deck makes a ton of mana with the Cryptolith Wraith effect and what's it called? Enduring Vitality. Enduring Vitality, giving all your guys Birds of Paradise ability. Already kind of solid. You already have the mana to play with. Sacking an Otter seems really innocuous to me.
Yeah.
To be able to gain lifelink in this format. And the Death Touch on a 1/1, for what it's worth, is like pretty good.
Yeah, I just don't know what for. Like, what deck do you like? I need this
Well,
lifelink
lifelink
for.
for everybody, right? I mean, we're in this aggro format. And then at that point, the Death Touch is a bonus. But I feel like it's probably enough that it's just lifelink because you really need to be able to like have agency in these kind of decks, and it is very aggro this format. And there's not Bolt Wave, but all the other burn spells can interact, and they don't get to play the Crystal Barricade, whatever it's called, that's getting played, which I'm happy about because I was pretty fond of that card in spoiler season. But yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me in Teamer combo specifically. They have the fodder. Lifelink is really primo right now, and the prowess triggers makes that lifelink even better. And Screaming Nemesis is like a hell of a card. If you're gonna let that hit you, hitting them back with a lifelinker, that's kind of like the way to dodge it right now.
Yeah. The last piece that I just wanted to mention is that something that I think that people should be prepared for is if you're going to be playing into green or you're going to be playing into white, Scooz is like a sideboard king. Like, it's for sure going
It's
to
not
be.
even just a Cyber King anymore. A lot of the green-black decks now are mainboarding it with Llanowar Elves.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in green black yet. I have seen Vivian Reed, as you mentioned, as a one ofs in every single
Vivian Reed is so
green
good.
black list. That's like the stock list, not like the list that I'm playing. That's like more the control list. But the other one, but yeah, in those lists, right? I'm seeing Scooz
Yeah,
as like
Scooz is just
as a
terrific.
board card. And the other one is Authority of Consuls. I think that like if you're playing into white, just and with all this aggro, expect Authority of Consuls to just be in the sideboard. Have a way to deal with it.
Right. They have to have an answer to aggro. What's it called? So as far as the standard challenge went, Julian gave me the results. So shout out to Julian. He gave me all this info like literally an hour ago because he wanted us to talk about it in the episode. Our boy Will Kowalczyk from Team Flexnot, he actually got top 8 in this challenge, which is really cool. He was the only Gruul prowess player. And then there was 2 Boros aggro with the new list that we were talking about. 4 Lightning Helix, 4 Burst Lightnings, 4 Boros Charms, some number of all the good creatures like Emberhar, etc., and just burn them down, literally. And then we had 2 red deck wins in the top 8 as well. One of them was Burst Lightning in the list, and one of them was literally just the mono red deck from the top 8 of the Pro Tour. Dimir Raider Range was in there, no changes from the Pro Tour. There was a Zerd deck, which effectively had no new cards from Foundations. It was a no red 4-color version, but the only black card was Zer. Typical Beans, Hauntwood stuff. Pretty cool. And then there was actually a Caretakers deck in there. Also no new cards in the Caretakers deck, even though White did gain some cards. A lot of them, actually, I'm kind of surprised this guy didn't play them. If he did play the new cards, he probably would have won because there were so many aggro decks. But yeah, Caretakers has honestly taken a big hit. Foundations, I think, has given it some tools to stay relevant, especially Crystal Barricade. But yeah, this top 8 is pretty cool. A lot of aggro, like we talked about, though. But in these young formats, aggro is usually king. And in the format in general, aggro is just powerful, not going anywhere. It's not going to be like, oh, we solved the format. We know how to deal with the aggro decks now. You're going to RCQs. Be ready for Mono Red, Boros Enchantments, Gruul aggro. Like, it's going to be prevalent. And like I was telling somebody, I was like, if you're going to RCQ, 1/4 of the room is aggro, 1/4 of the room is Dimir, 1/4 of the room is green black. The other 1/4 is like you and the 40 other decks in the format. And good luck.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think I actually wanted to mention about Foundations and like just with what I'm seeing online already is that there are front runners, right? Like there are decks that we see, but I think Foundations has let people cook more in standard. Like there are more fringe decks that I'm like, oh,
Yes.
this isn't a free win for me. Like even on the list that we were looking on before we got on the episode tonight, I saw another one of the like Smuggler's Surprise, making
green red monsters.
Yes, like
Green
green
Red
red
Monsters
monsters,
has
and
been
I
a
was
thing.
like, this
Vaultborn
deck
Tyrant.
is good.
Yes.
Yes, with Vaultborn Tyrant.
Overlord of the Boiler Birches, Calamity's still a card. You were playing that on the league
Yeah.
last night. Calamity's insane.
That card is crazy. You make
Outcast or Trailblazer is still a card.
so good. Yeah, I was like, what in the?
Also, Llanowar Elves just really helps all these decks. I mean,
Yes.
Llanowar Elves probably helped green red monsters more than it's helping green black mid range, green black control
For sure.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is so cool. Honestly, love seeing green red monsters, green red Stompy. Really cool archetype. It's got like some of the best creatures for it too right now.
Yeah, and then I think that there are other decks that like could come into the format or back to the format.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I think that there is
It's only a
absolutely
matter of time before we see some reanimate deck,
yeah, reanimate. I think that
Sultai Self Mill, etc.
yeah, the only thing that's scary about reanimate is that there's so much graveyard hate, like because of Scoos and all that, that I think that like they're not going to be positioned very well. But I feel like Innkeepers, Alting Liliana, like I feel like Innkeepers, if they did an Innkeepers version with elves, like that deck would be better than it was before.
Well, there's also doubling season too. So like, if you really wanted to, you could play doubling season and not have to like commit to leveling up an enchantment and just being like, does this resolve? Can I win? If you're ramping hard enough. I don't know if the tokens will ever matter, but yeah, there's doubling the Planeswalker and just straight to ultimate definitely seems like it's
It
something
might
that-
matter if you're doing it with Liliana, because then after you ult, you can just tick up to be like, I make double zombies.
Oh, that's true. Exactly.
Like, I mean, that's not a terrible
Yeah,
game
just a
plan.
clock on the spot.
Yeah.
And Liliana Dreadhorde General is disgusting. Honestly, green black alting into Liliana with Innkeepers. I'm surprised more people aren't doing that because when we were talking about like the one shot with Vraska, my biggest qualm was how Vraska is just not a good card.
Right.
And Liliana Dreadhorde General is a very good card, and we have elves now. So like doing turn one elves into like a turn two, whatever you're gonna do, Glissa, Innkeeper's Talent, etc., feels way less bad. Not sleeving of Vraska feels really good. Shout outs, hey Vraska, I love you in the lore, but like the all we want Vraska Betrayal Sting, not a very good card in my opinion, especially in this format.
I
But
also
Small Liliana is pretty good as well for the same reasons.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I also feel like we haven't seen the new Kellen. Like new Kellen, we haven't.
Oh,
seen,
the red one, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen that in aggro lists yet.
It's in
And
a
it-
one drop.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that
it's a one
he's
drop.
not getting any play. I do think he's decent.
Well, he's a mana sink, so like if you're just top decking lands, like you could sink the mana into him.
I mean, the decks are very consistent, so it's like not entirely surprising they're not playing him. They're so like no fat, all lean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you mentioned earlier you were saying like maybe we can get some like big red mana, big red decks back in the day.
Yeah, and that's a deck
back-
for big red.
I miss Big Red. I used to play a lot of Big Red, even in Pioneer when it was like really good back during like inverter meta. I would love to see like mono red, like Koth, like that kind of deck. Oh, that'd be so cool.
And I expect too that we haven't seen, again, this is 2 days in, but we haven't seen a control list come out yet.
Right.
And I'm like, why not play control and mainboard Authority of Consoles?
Sure.
Like I would play that, especially into how much aggro we have now. Like you
Yeah,
just
you
like
could mainboard Authority
and just-
we did talk about Time Stop last episode, and I do think Time Stop is pretty good for what it's worth.
and then you just don't play. I mean, you could still play Deduce if you wanted to, but Think Twice is now legal.
I think it definitely has to. Well, yeah, that's true. Think Twice is legal, but I feel like it has to be like a Bant deck, and you're just playing Overlord of the Hauntwoods. And even
card
though
is so
it's-
good.
Even though it's Beans Hauntwoods, like Bant Control Beans was pretty good, like 9 months ago, a year ago, for like a lot of the similar reasons. You're playing whatever 5-drops you can abuse. March of Otherworldly Light was really nice with the beans, and that all kind of worked out.
It just makes me think, like, can you imagine? Remember during, we saw Joe Bernal play in Pioneer, that green-black list with Karn that I built for a while and played?
Oh, the Glissa deck that had Karn in it?
Yeah, it was like the
Yeah.
GB Rock deck. Can you imagine what that deck would have looked like if Hauntwoods was legal at the time?
Oh, for sure.
You'd be like, cool, grab Cityscape Leveler, hard cast Cityscape Leveler. Like, that just would have been so cool and crazy
You know
if
what?
that was still legal.
Speaking of Pioneer, you want to be really sad?
Okay.
Pioneer happened this week, and everybody was having a great time. And I shit you not, like 80% of the room was like, man, I brought up Karn, and like 80% of the room was like, oh, I miss Karn, man. And I was like, I told you guys. And Julian was just like, what the hell is happening? And I'm just like,
Yeah,
bring
'cause-
them back, bring them back.
No, I miss Karn for
He's just so
for-
slow in Pioneer now. If you
Yeah,
look at the
okay.
format.
I miss Karn for stuff like that, but I do not want mono green time back again.
Yeah, mono green just sucks now though. Like our meta is inbred where we have like 2 mono green players, but like everywhere else it's like unplayable in Pioneer right now.
Yeah, but
although they got to do ley line in Foundations.
I still want us to like just do a league for fun where I just am like gonna blow the points to do stupid progenitor stuff
Oh, for
on turn
sure.
4.
Yeah. That's
I'm like determined that like because I told a few people about that because I'm not a cook. I've said this. I like to pilot decks. I'm not a cook. I don't cook. I did for Star Wars this week though.
Nice.
And it's actually pretty good. But
Shout out Star Wars players.
yeah, shout out to the Star Wars players. But that's the one deck where people are like, "Oh wait, you could do. Oh yeah, you could do that. And I'm like, yes, here I come.
I don't know where the photo came from, but I think Julian also posted this in the Discord. The new cards from Foundations that are currently getting played. It also had listed what decks they're getting played in, but I mean they're honestly pretty obvious, so I left them out.
Sure.
Excuse me. 1, Bolt Wave. We've already talked about it. 2, you guys might have missed this, but shout outs to players that haven't been playing Standard. Soulstone Sanctuary. I have been seeing a lot of this card. It is pretty cool.
The land?
It's literally just a land.
Yeah.
4 mana activated. You get a 3/3. Notably, you don't have to tap it to activate it. You don't have to. It's just 4 generic mana. You can tap it into itself, and it's no color pips. That's what it was. No color pips for a 3/3. Solid, pretty cute. Some mid-range decks have been playing it. It's not a tap land like Restless Cottage. So if you just want a creature, that kind of gets the job done. But if I was thinking about it, I was like, this is kind of cute. But like if the fact that it's generic mana is so easy to activate is relevant, Shieldred's Edict being coming back would be kind of a big deal. That you're like, oh, I'll just sack my land, kind of like how Mutavault was back in the day. It is 4 mana though, kind of a lot.
Yeah, the only thing that I see that people haven't done yet, which is very relevant because this is what happens in Pioneer, is that you activate Mutavault in mono black so that you can get the trigger off of Unholy Annex.
Right.
And that's not being abused currently in any of those lists.
Oh, it's the Soulstone Sanctuary, a demon.
It's all creature types.
Oh, really? I didn't realize it was a
yeah,
Mutavault land.
yeah. It is a
that's
Mutavault.
really cool.
It is a Mutavault land, and it's got Vigilance. So when it attacks,
nice.
so you could be like attack with it, still get the thing, and then hold
that
the
makes
land.
it a really good win condition though with Unholy Annex. The fact that you're like hitting for 5 now. 3/3 creature on a 4 activation is not usually exciting, but like I said, it's all creature types, totally fine. Speaking of all creature types, actually, Jack, Goblin Ringleader, shout outs. He told me that he found a list that somebody was playing.
It was Ash Lizzle.
Excuse me, what?
Ash Lizzle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like the standard queen. Like that's what she does. Is
My
like
understanding
just
is
place.
playing it to some moderate success, but Agatha Soul Cauldron with goblins. I actually didn't realize that Dragon Fodder was legal. I was talking about the Jeskai Ascendancy deck from the back in the day, comparing it to Tamer Combo.
Yeah.
They used to play Dragon Fodder and cards like that to make men, making goblins for Krenko, and then I forget the name of the other card now. I'm totally punting right now. There was a card that like gave aggro, gave haste.
The Enduring Courage.
Enduring Courage, yeah. Enduring Courage gives all your guys haste, and when they come in +2, so like Krenko is so happy with Enduring Courage. I actually thought that was actually really cool. Like, oh, Dragon Fodder, 2/3 with haste. I mean, Enduring Courage is a hell of a card. This is a pretty cute deck. But if you get to Agatha Soul Cauldron, the Krenko, you're all of a sudden really happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, let's go. I have a bunch of men. They're all getting really huge. Not necessarily a tier 1 deck, but I think there's something there. Definitely a really cool cooked up list. And Jack said he wanted to try that for our standards because he's like, I have to play goblins,
Well, I just feel so happy because so he sent me a list even before, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna play goblins again." And he showed me this list, and it was running like 33 creatures or something. And I was like, one, like most aggro lists are topping out at like 27. And so I just like tweeted at him right now while you were talking about that, being like, hey, how many creatures were in that list? Oh, 25? I'm a podcaster.
Anyways, so Bolt Wave, Soulstone, Sanctuary. The third card that's getting played, I'm really happy about, Crystal Barricade. So it's the 2-drop, I think it's a 0/4 Defender Wall. It gives you hexproof, which is relevant. Bolt Wave gets around that, but it also is like protecting you from the other burn spells. And also the thing that is notable that was actually giving me problems when I was playing, because I was playing when I first started playing for Foundations to try to get like my packs. I was playing Gruul, and Crystal Barricade prevents your creatures from taking non-combat damage, so you can't burn their guys to death. Really, really big deal. I think that card is good, mostly for that reason. The hexproof is nice, obviously. It's all parts of the Buffalo make the card good, but it's really nice that it protects your guys from burn damage. Because now they can't even kill the wall with burn damage, so it's a terrific blocker as a 0/4 for that reason. Obviously, you don't want to run it into a monster's rage, but being able to protect yourself from burst lightning, etc., really big deal. I think that'll have some cute interactions with the fact that Boros Charm, I want to say, is Boros Charm target opponent or each opponent? I can't remember. Pretty sure it's target, but I'm pretty sure only Bolt Wave gets around the fact that you have hexproof for that burn damage. The next card that's supposedly getting played already, you brought it up, Kellen. I didn't see what lists were playing it, but Kellen, Planar Trailblazer, is apparently already getting some play. The next card is Sunblessed Healer. I don't know if you want to look that one up really quick for me.
Oh, yeah.
Sunblessed Healer is apparently getting played.
Yeah, it's 1 and a white, kicker 1 and a white. Lifelink, when this creature enters, if it was kicked, return target online permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's a 3/1 with lifelink.
Yeah, so this is getting played in the Caretaker's decks. And then if you want to read Kellen, just so that the audience knows what it does, since we don't have cards sliding up on the screen anymore.
Oh, duh. Yeah, rest in peace, Todd. We love you. Kellen, Planar Trailblazer. The art on this is so sick, too. Legendary creature, human, fairy, scout. It's a 2/1. You could pay 1 in red. If Kellen is a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains whenever Kellen deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn.
Yeah.
Then you can pay 2 and a red. If Kellen is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike.
Yeah. So it's basically like
It's card draw. It's card draw too.
Yeah, and it's like a way more powered up version of like the Warden of the First Tree or whatever. Like those. Oh, I'm a 1 drop, and now I'm pay more mana.
Now I'm a 2/2.
Now I'm a really good card.
Now I'm a 4/4 flying.
Now I'm insane. You know.
Yeah.
And of all the cards that do this effect, I think this is actually legitimately probably the best one.
Yeah.
It's already on rate, just good, which the other ones are not typically.
Yeah.
Its second ability is insane. You're getting the card draw right away. And then the last ability is death, and which you don't even have to pay into because your deck probably already has value for that. But if you're playing like in big red, like we talked about,
Yeah.
just a sick, nasty 1-drop, like a Ragavan for standard, you know?
Right.
Really good card. And then the last card that's getting played from Foundations already is Bloodthirsty Conqueror, which we talked about before. 5 mana, Flying Demon, 5/5, I want to say. I think it's basically Exquisite Blood. Whenever you gain life, I believe your opponents lose that much life. Getting played in, I forgot what lists, but it's just a really efficient threat, and there's a lot of life gain going around, so it kind of just like does its thing. It also like infinite combos, I think.
Yeah. I'm just listen. Julian and you last week when I put this on the notes, you were like, "You're so stupid," and then I was like, "Yeah, but it could do this infinite combo thing." And but when I said infinite combo, you were like, "Oh, I get it now." But he thought that I was so cooked for saying this card, and the fact that it's already seeing play, I'm like.
Well, I don't know if it's seeing as much as I like the card. I don't know if it's seen play to like any success yet, but it is in some lists. I do think for what it's worth, the card is like, is he not a demon? It's a vampire, right?
Vampire Knight.
Yeah, that's the problem. I was really hoping he was a demon for Unholy Annex.
Oh, sure. I mean, that would be even better.
But it is a flying death touch 5/5.
Yes.
The body is insane.
Flying-
5/5 flying death touch. I really have to see the lists that are playing it. But like we talked about, there's like so much incremental life gain. This guy's just like really efficient, even without combo. But I'm pretty sure whatever lists are playing it have to be comboing, because when Frank mentioned it to me 2 weeks ago, I was basically trying to brew up some combo versions, and there was a Soul Sister that came out as a 3-drop. Not sure if that's worth playing, but I definitely got like Bloodthirsty Conqueror looped. Oh no, it happened to us.
Yeah, it happened to us in
we
limited.
almost got Bloodthirsty Conqueror looped in
Yeah.
limited.
Yeah, and you
then
were like,
Frank had to be like, I was like, oh, we're dead, and Frank was like, I have a burn spell for this, I can stop the loop, and we're like, oh, thank God.
well, you were on the phone too, and so like
yeah,
they were
that's
like,
true.
we're gonna kill you, and I was like, hold on, stop. Sorry, I'm distracted. Abrade. Okay, after the first trigger, and they were cool. They were like, after the first trigger, you know, the abrade goes through or whatever, and I was like, whew. But I was like, I even laughed when Alex was like, oh, there are 2 combos, like combo kills in limited, and I was like, and then I saw it, and I was like,
What's the other combo?
I don't know. I didn't get to see the second one.
Interesting.
But like
now
that,
I'm curious.
but that to me, I was like,
It was
what?
so easy for them to set up that limited combo kill that I was just like, oh, gross.
Yeah, like I was like, I can't believe that we're
I mean,
not.
that automatically probably puts Bloodthirsty Conqueror as like one of the top end rares that you could draft, and on top of it being an insane body.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe. I mean, it'll go down in price, but like I just checked that
No,
card.
no, it's not going down.
It's
It's a
$30.
commander staple. Yeah, it's
$30.
When I saw Exquisite Blood was on a creature, the first thing I said was, oh, that's one of the good cards to pull as a Star Owner Brain. It's going to be expensive forever. It might go down to like $20, maybe, but it's Exquisite Blood on a creature. Exquisite Blood has been expensive 5 ever. It's not new. It's a commander staple. Great card. And whenever you pull your Foundation packs, you get a Bloodthirsty Conqueror. You thank God.
I just think you think God.
You don't
I
thank
just
God for putting this card in the set.
I just think that like at a minimum, it has some fine synergy. Like if it's not immediately murked with Shieldred. Like whenever you gain life, right?
Yeah, you gain life.
Or
you lose
whenever an
life.
opponent loses life. So every time they draw a card, they're losing additional damage.
Oh, whenever they lose life, you gain life. That's what it was. Yeah, they lose life, you gain life. And then basically anything that you can do where you gain life and they take damage, it's over. And there was like a creature in like some 3-drop that was like, you gain life, each opponent loses a life or whatever.
Yes.
And just like, oh, it's over.
Yep,
So
you're
yeah,
done.
you just play those 2 guys in standard, you're probably set.
And that's a common.
Yeah. And it's honestly, for what it is, it's not a bad creature. Like a 3-drop that's like,
It's like a 3-drop 3/2.
and you can play it in like probably Orzhov or whatever. Orzhov Demons probably also like, where is Orzhov Demons? You know, like I feel like that deck.
Well, and that's what I was thinking
Have
about
your removal.
originally when you mentioned this card, and you were like, I don't know what list it's in. I was like, man, is Orzhov becoming playable? Is like this how?
Well, last
Is
time we
this
said
this
that,
the way we're
we
doing
were
it?
so sad when it wasn't.
Yeah.
Remember like MagicCon last?
Oh, yeah,
last
we
year,
were
like,
cooked.
Oh, Orzhov, man, it's gonna be there, and then like buy MagicCon,
And we
like,
cooked and
none of us were playing it.
yeah, we threw it out the window.
Thank God we did.
Wasn't our
because
best idea.
I was really happy about the control deck then, and if I had more time on that control deck, I feel like I could have gone far.
No, dude, I'm still mad because I played the control deck for MagicCon,
Yeah.
and then I switched to Esper and like top hated every RCQ I went
Oh,
to. I was
yeah.
like, I should have been playing Esper, man.
Well, the MagicCon control deck that I took, I was so happy with, but I was even happier literally right after where I was like, oh man, why wasn't I playing Jace main board? Like, I think I had Cryptico in my deck. I was so unhappy with the Cryptico.
Oh, and I convinced you on that. Yeah, my bad.
It was whatever. I probably wasn't gonna go far in day 2 anyway. It was a really tough event. But the fact that I started off like 4-1 or something, I was so sad that Cryptic Coat was not it. There was so many games where it was like, oh man, I
Nah,
was just anything else.
not it, brother.
With that being said, that's like our main like recap for standard that's going on. Hopefully we'll have some more news for you guys in 2 weeks. But I know that we have friends that are going to events. This Saturday is the first RCQs, I want to say.
Yeah, and Julian said he was
Julian's
going.
driving out 2 hours to go to a store,
I
which
would-
is really cool.
I was like, you're crazy,
He might take some
man.
people with. He was like at standard, like, hey, anybody want to go with? And some people were like, 2 hours? Maybe I'll go. He asked Jack though, and Jack was like, copium. Like, oh yeah, I'll get up at 4 a.m. Like, no, you're not, bro.
No, you're not, brother.
Especially because you have to like drive out to meet Julian and Rockford or wherever he lives.
Yeah, no way. Zero chances.
Not happening. But what's it called? Spicy takes. You were talking about Great Worm with Innkeeper. Which one is Great Worm again?
Yeah, so the new like quilled Great Worm, I just thought that there might be some kind of way for them to get this card out early. In like a reanimator type style. So quilled Great Worm is 4 green. It's a 7/7 with trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many 1/1 counters on it. You may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from among creatures you control, in addition to paying its other costs.
Yeah, this card is actually so funny. I saw this card only because it was like, like whenever like Star City Games or some random like company will like find a combo somebody posted on Reddit and like, oh, that's our content now. You know what I mean? I saw it on a Star City Games post where it was like, it was so funny too because it was like whenever a card comes out and somebody's like, oh, this combos with Pila Pala. Wow, really? It combos with the card everything combos with? Or like Exquisite Blood being the thing. It's like, this combos with all the cards to gain life. It's like, yeah, like all the other cards that already do that.
Yep.
This one was
good,
Sage
brother.
of Hours, and it's like, oh, another Sage of Hours combo? Wow, that's crazy. Another way to get infinite turns in Commander. Wow. But yeah, that card was cool because it's like Sage of Hours, you remove 5 counters to take an extra turn. So if you hit with the Sage of Hours, you put like 6 counters on him. Then you remove 5 to take an extra turn. And then you just loop it.
Again.
So, yeah, Great Worm. So you're hitting with guys, they're getting counters equal to how much they dealt. And then theoretically you can reanimate it with Innkeepers because you're putting counters on guys and making your guys big.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a good cyber card for like the green-red monsters deck already, something like that.
Yeah, I was also just thinking like if you had counters on stuff already, like maybe with Great Worm you could just like cheat Great Worm into play earlier, and then you just have a 7/7 with trample. I don't think that that's better than having like a Vaultborn Tyrant, but I just didn't know if like there was a way.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to cheat them into play, and if that's even worth it because you're giving up like 6 power on board for it. But I do think it's like it's a pretty cool recursion threat.
Yeah.
That is interesting, though. I mean, it could be a thing. Agatha's Vault Cauldron is also a thing for what it's worth. There's a lot of ways to abuse 1/1 counters. I feel like there's got to be something to do with counters eventually.
Yeah, I just thought that Innkeeper's talent was like, I was like, oh, those 2 cards together seems good.
Yeah. Well, Innkeepers in Agatha's, I wish would get more play together. Like Agatha's being able to give all your guys Ward 1 seems really cool. With the Innkeepers on level 1, that'd be kind of cute.
One, is it double the count? Wait. Oh,
It's double counters if you have level 2 for 4 mana.
no, but maybe with Great Worm.
It's you get counters equal to how much damage was dealt. It's not double.
You put that many counters on target creatures. So like if your creature does 6 damage,
You get 6 counters, yeah.
but if you have it leveled up,
12.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it has double strike. Pow. Grow.
Well, I also wanted to see if there was anything with that new for Big Red, right? You were talking about Big Red.
Yeah.
That new dragon that says like if like a red source would deal damage, it does more.
I'm forgetting what the card is.
The brand new dragon.
It's a dragon that literally says red cards do like double damage or something. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I was just thinking for like Big Red, like maybe because we've gotten so many burn spells recently.
Yeah, no worries.
The twin flame tyrant. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent, it deals double instead.
Interesting.
And it's 5.
Now I'm crystal barricading up again. No, that's kind of cool. It's just so expensive. A lot of the problems with a lot of these brews is like their threats and some of these top end cards are just so
Like
so
5 and
expensive.
6.
That was
Yeah.
my initial concern with the Bloodthirsty Conqueror. I was like 5 mana is a lot for you have to win right now, which obviously it can. But what's it called? I had on my list of cooking before I realized that everybody was already playing it was Crystal Barricade, and I was like, I don't know if I talked about it already, but in addition to like the way Bolt Wave and like all these burn spells interact with it, keep in mind that like Crystal Barricade is literally your protection from Screaming and Nemesis if you're playing white. It might actually even be better than like Authority of the Consuls for protecting you from the red decks because it blocks Screaming Nemesis so well, and it doesn't hit it back. If you block Screaming Nemesis with another guy because you want to play around Monstrous Rage, it can't redirect its damage to you or your creatures with Crystal Barricade out because it has to be combat damage that's dealt. So that's also something to think about, the fact that you can actually prevent them from denying you life gain. And I think that trigger has to go somewhere, so they might even have to like kill their own guy, which is interesting. But like a lot of times, like I've had board states where they attack with a Screaming Nemesis, and I'm like, I could block and kill this, but I can't because I don't want to like not be able to gain life. And so like in theory, Crystal Barricade allows that to happen. And in the white decks, for what it's worth, Carrot Cake, I think that's partially why Caretakers is doing okay. Again, is because the format's so aggro, it's kind of like looping back to like the aggro decks are actually able to handle control, which is funny because we're in a format where the mid range decks can. Sorry, excuse me, I misspoke. The aggro decks can actually handle the mid range decks. Ironically enough, in the same format where the mid range decks are strong enough to handle the control decks, and usually the triangle is like backwards. So like if the format is getting aggressive enough, it seems like the control decks actually have better resources, especially in white, to deal with these weird aggro decks. Lay Down Arms specifically, the fact that it exiles is a big deal right now. I think Julian had like a list of like 6 creatures in black alone that were like must exile creatures, like Slasher, for example. But like Heartfire Hero and Cacophony's Camp not dying, huge impact. 1 mana removal, also huge impact. Carrot Cake gains you life in the same colors. A third of the councils out of the sideboard protects you in the same colors. Crystal Barricade. So like there are really good options for these white decks, whether it's Convoke or Caretaker's Talent, to deal with aggro decks. I think that's going to become more prevalent as we see the format kind of like mature.
You could even take Authority of Councils and put it in Caretakers.
It doesn't gain you life off your own guys.
Right, I know, but it's not something that gets hit. Like, right, that deck, because of Carrot Cake, they're not playing Temporary Lockdown. And so like, you can Sunfall, then keep out your thing. Keep your Authority. Keep your.
Sure gets played in Caretakers.
I think I just
don't know. If
I don't think it
over like Crystal Barricade.
Yeah, I just think you could.
Yeah,
I think you could mainboard it and it'd be fine.
It just has to give you something for the mid-range decks. Like the Duress is still a hell of a card, and if you have Authority and you're just like not doing enough for the mid-range decks, it might not be worth it in the main. But like you said, I mean, it's definitely something you could experiment with, especially if you see the room is
so aggro, which it probably.
Turn 1 Authority typically ends the game.
Yeah, I hope Julian's
back in the day with Hazoret Red.
Yeah, I hope Julian's ready this week, because if he's playing the first weekend of RCQs, you know that the whole room is going to be
I'm sure. Anybody's ready. It's
going to be Boros.
Man, I honestly wish I had as much time to practice with Julian, because he gets a lot of good practice in. Big respect to Julian. He's been a huge help for me the last couple of months for the podcast specifically, where it's been really hard for me to like actually get time to practice, but then all the real life stuff going on and the work at the shop that I've been needing to do. Shout out to Julian. He's super helpful at helping me catch up whenever I need to.
Yeah, especially because for you specifically, I know that you don't mention this a lot, nearly as much as I do with my house and divorce and whatever, but you've had life hit you too a lot lately.
Yeah, it is what it is. I don't ever talk about my personal life, but I've just been busy lately.
This man, strong.
Appreciate it. With that being said, did you want to actually talk about some limited? I don't know how interesting the format is. Personally, I think Foundation Limited is good. I give it a solid B+. It's just like a good.
So generous.
No, not even. It's a really good draft format. I think they really nailed it on the head for what it's supposed to be. And people were so skeptical and so worried. I cannot tell you how many people were freaking out for like. Since the announcement that Foundations was going to ruin Magic, it was so bad. It was a dumb idea. And the whole time, I was like one of the few people that was like, I think it's going to be really good. I think this set's awesome. I had planned to make a YouTube video specifically about that before life kind of like threw curveballs at me. And I think the set was phenomenal. I think for what it is exactly what we needed. And it's selling for me like hotcakes. So I think the casual players like it. And the draft format actually feels like a core set environment to the point where even Jared was saying like, oh, a lot of the legacy players are telling me they like Foundations draft. And I was like, of course the boomers. Excuse me. I have an itch in my throat. Can't get rid of it. I was like, of course the boomers that want like old school Magic and play Legacy are like, oh, draft like the old days. That's what I like. And I'm like, have you played any of the new draft formats? They're so good. You might like them if you broaden your horizon.
Yeah, you'll really like drafting Foundations if you enjoyed back when we were doing like 3 sets together. Like if you do
Oh, God.
like Tartier and you'd be like, oh
I think
well.
Foundations is way better than Dragon's Maze, Gate Crash.
Yeah, and you're like, we're gonna do one of each pack.
Solid. Like if Duskborn is an S, and I really think it is. Like I think Outrain and Duskborn and Bloomborough were like S tier sets for me. Ixalan maybe like B plus. I think Foundations for what it is, really solid. B plus. Doesn't really get a lot of things wrong. All the archetypes are very clear cut. New players love the format. I have a lot of new players who are like, oh, I'm drafting. And for them, it is a pretty high synergy set because they don't really draft a lot and they're solving these deck archetypes pretty quickly. It is phenomenal. I think they did a great job. And shout out to like WotC whenever they do a good job. You know, we got to show some love. But overall, good set. I don't actually find it boring to draft Foundations. I just don't find it as fun as Standard, which is usually inverted. I'm usually like, oh, Bloomborough draft is so fun. And Duskborn's coming out. I really wish I could draft more Bloomborough, but Standard is just so good right now.
Yeah, I think that my problem with Foundations, because I would not rate it as high as Stan does, is that I think for those of us that like Limited and are really into Limited, we like high interaction, high synergy, and I would describe it as the meth-like high of like solving draft deck building puzzles. And Foundations is not that. But to his point, it is good for those that are like new players. It's very streamlined. You play 2 colors, like you quickly get into your lane, and like the decks just kind of put themselves together. Yeah. And so for that reason, it is good for a lot of new players, but I don't think that it's exciting gameplay or exciting deck building. I think that for me, this would be a set that like Bloomborough was similar in the sense that it was very typo. Like you were playing frogs and you're playing squirrels and you're playing, and I thought that to me is higher than I find Foundations to be, because that was at least like, right, there was kind of like a kitschiness to it that was enjoyable. Like, oh, I'm killing you with mice, or like killing you with frogs, or like.
But I feel like for new players, they would definitely mess up their archetypes. Like Simic and Rakdos specifically. New players like Lizard, go, and it's like Lizard aggro, but Lizard also grindy.
Yeah.
Simic, okay, well you're playing the hardest colors in draft. Don't mess this up. But Frog, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that. I just separate those two things. Like, is it a good format versus like, is it good for new people? Like, I think that there are benefits to Foundations, but like, I don't love it as like I'm gonna really enjoy playing this set. I think for me, I'm probably by the time we get to mid-December, I'm gonna be like, okay, what's next?
Well, for what it's worth, we're not gonna be drafting at the store that much. I think we're gonna be sticking to Duskborn. I might even throw some Bloomborough in there, depending on how people are feeling. Maybe a Chaos draft. We're not going to be on season, so that'll be nice. But yeah, I definitely don't want to just draft Foundations for like 2 months until Aether Drift. That would suck. Okay, New Capenna or Foundations?
Foundations. I mean, nothing is worse than New Capenna, and that's because.
What would you say? Because we could look at the boxes on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
Hit me with some ratings. Kamigawa. Did you play it?
Oh, Kamigawa was great.
So like S through D. Or I guess F.
A.
A. Okay, so New Capenna is F.
Yeah, New Capenna is F.
Dominator United.
B plus.
B plus. Okay, so Brothers War.
A.
A. Okay, I like Brothers War a lot too. I was spamming Soldiers.
Yeah.
All will be one.
B plus.
That's the one where you took me to that RCQ. God, what a boring format.
B plus.
B plus. Yeah. Martial Machine.
Oh, S.
S, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree. It was a really fun format. It was just so long and standard. Man, that was Cursed Times, Aftermath, really. God, we don't talk about Aftermath.
No, we don't talk about Aftermath.
Balls of Eldraine.
I'm gonna go with A.
A?
I don't. I think that was very like.
It was so high power.
Yeah, high power, but it wasn't like super synergistic. It was like, oh, I'm just doing this thing, but like there's a bunch of high powered stuff. And that was the first time I got like Mythic
Did you
in.
play the Arena Cube draft at all?
No.
Dude, I would spam the Boros deck because it was just so good, but I would like pack one, pick one Godric, and if I saw any other red white cards, I was like, back to Eldraine, baby. We're good. Yeah, man, I miss drafting Godric and Eldraine.
Yeah.
Lost Caverns of Ixalan.
Ooh, that was rough.
I know you didn't like it.
I thought
funny because I actually really enjoyed it, but I heard a lot of pro players didn't like it either.
no. That to me was like that was like a C plus,
C plus. Wow, interesting.
and that's probably closer to where I'd put Foundations. It's like
C plus?
Yeah.
So C plus for Foundation, C plus for Ixalan, F for New Capenna.
Yeah. So
Where do we have murders at?
Ixalan was a set where not every like when there are archetypes that are just like unplayable, they're so bad, or like you really have to get so many pieces just to make them good.
Yeah.
And that's what New Capenna was. It was like if you didn't play these two archetypes, you had to like draft the best cards in this third archetype and pray.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's where Magic is
It
bad.
also felt so hard to get these decks together. Like you could see like the 4-card combo where you're like, oh, I want to get these guys, and like you just never got them. I definitely can agree with that. Okay, where's it Murders at then?
Murders, I'd say I actually really liked that Murders. I'd give that an A.
And it's funny because Murders is when we started with the play boosters. So going forward, we're in either the Promised Land or Cursed Territory. If you're not a fan of play boosters, Thunder Junction.
B.
B for Thunder Junction. Interesting. He does not like 4-color decks.
No,
Blue
Thunder Junction. It was like again, like when you played against a green-white saddle deck that just had it. You're like, okay,
you got it.
yeah, like
No,
okay,
for sure.
okay.
And I'm over here like, oh, Gabe, look at this 4-color deck I built. It's so cool. It's got like these cool cards. Oh, saddled my ass.
Yeah. Ooh.
This guy's literally writing.
He's saddling me, right?
Okay, Bloomborough then.
Ooh, I enjoyed Bloomborough. I'd give, even though it was like I'd give B plus.
B plus, really B plus. Wow, I had it. Bloomborough for me was an S. All right, Duskmourn then.
S tier.
S tier.
That was like
Duskmourn and Bloomborough. I think were back to back phenomenal sets. But like Duskmourn has what I love, which is like insane power level. I don't care. I love when the cards are strong.
Yeah, me
power
too.
creep does not exist for me. I guess with that being said, that's our show. I a lot shorter than they usually go. I didn't curse it though. I didn't say it this time.
I know it went over an hour. I was actually like surprised when you were
Slightly
doing.
over an hour.
I was surprised when you were doing this thing because I was like, oh, we could have ended
That's
it
the only
under an
reason
hour.
I did. I was like, we got to get this to 1 hour.
1 hour,
We got to
baby.
get our watch time up that doesn't exist. With that being said, we'll do some quick shout outs. As always, shout outs to the patrons that support the show. You guys are the best. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hit us up for your perks. We're always happy to put the work in for you guys.
And we're putting in the work for next year to get you some new stuff.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you some new stuff.
Shout out in the comments, like if you guys like have ideas for
Yeah, you have
changes,
requests for
please.
things, let us know. We're always happy to take requests. I mean, people in the Discord already do it. So if you have requests of us, especially if you're a patron, we'll definitely be receptive to your feedback. I mean, I kind of already am naturally tended to that style as a store owner. Whenever somebody comes in, I want to do this. Well, I'll try my best.
Unless you're Julian, then I don't care.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? Fuck doing that. Shout out to the viewers that are just watching with us for the ride and enjoyed the show. We really appreciate you. Once again, if you don't mind checking if you have liked the video, commented, subscribe specifically. It's the best thing you can do for us right now. We're hoping to get 500 subscribers by the end of the year, but I don't know if we're going to be able to hit that goal. It's going to be a rough one for us. We'll see.
If I hit 200, I'll be happy, okay?
Yeah, we get to 200, we'll be happy. But I really want 500 because I want to see where we can go in terms of getting monetization, maybe getting some sponsors for you guys. What's it called? Shout outs to Nancy Steroids for the intro and outro music and the music when Frank streams.
And he's got new stuff too, so check him out.
And then shout outs to Sal, MCG Chicago, his channel. He has all of our gameplay videos. My voice is actually dying, so Frank's going to take over for the rest of this.
He actually does our thumbnails as well, so shout out to him for that because he's been cooking for like probably the last 4 or 5 months, just like really hitting those. And on top of it, he's now taking over some of our editing, helping us out with that.
True.
Thank you
Big
so
shout
much,
out,
man.
man.
And like it's just, I can't, when he was like, yeah, I'll help out, I was like, God, I love you so. And he's coming in for Modern too, so like he's really just doing the work. And go check out his channel,
Whenever I say
MTG
I'm
Chicago.
busy, I actually literally compared to Sal, I'm like, I'm not busy.
Yeah, right. I like truly. I don't know how he does.
Nonstop work. He like sleeps for 4 hours. I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, like on Red Bull, like has a kid,
Yeah, he'll be coming to
dog.
the shop with his kid in his arm. I'm doing this, and that. What do you need me to do? I'm like, what can I do for you, man?
Yeah, do you need a massage, foot rub? Like, let me help you out, brother. So shout out to Sal, he's really awesome. Shout out to Borsat Gaming. If you do want to get some product like foundations, this $30 card, it's not going down. You heard it here first. So please check us out there. And I think
I will be ripping foundations soon. I just haven't had a chance to.
Please.
I've been busy.
Please.
We will have foundation singles for you guys.
give him to me. I'll take my money. I think that is it. I'll ask you this time. Is that it?
Voice is dead.
Good night, sweet prince.
Next time. Thanks for watching, as always.
And we'll see you soon.